Hey everybody, this is A.B. Sigler, and we're here this week with the Nocturnal Q&A. We have two Q&As this week and next week on the cast, so tune in and listen. This is your spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
There will be spoilers about every Sigler book, so we will try and give you a heads up about what, and you'll certainly hear it in the question. But if you want, if you haven't read whatever that book is, scoot forward 30 seconds.
Do you know why we have two? Do you know why?
Because there are very many questions.
Well, because not only are our books swollen, and girthy and turgid, girthy. Our questions are also large and veiny. Many, many, many veiny questions, and we have so many that we have to get to that. So it's going to take 2 episodes.
I'm going to mess with my lighting again.
Okay. All right. So let's get rolling. What we're doing for you guys today. If you're listening, folks at home, you are going to be hearing strange voices. We'll try and introduce who they are. But what we're doing this as a live stream. While you're listening to this, if you're not aware, we do a live stream every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 a.m. GMT, where we talk about all things Sigler related. We talk about junkies. We share pictures of junkie pets. We talk about stories. Sometimes we read stuff. It's madness. It's all over the gosh darn place. And you should be tuning in. We're doing this live. We're doing it live. We're doing this live for the live stream, then we're stripping out the audio and we're putting it into the feed. So you may hear some awkwardness on this Q&A. We're going to do the best we can, but there is some video from Junkies who sent in a cell phone video, and we have questions to answer. And then there are most of the questions are people just emailed one in and you will ask them, right?
Exactly.
Yep. Yes. So let's get one in the bank. Let's get an actual. So before I go to video, so in case I screwed up, we can say we actually got. At some point, we'll be 1-0. I think. Here we go. Hit me.
From Tony in Arizona, this question. He says, "Super excited about the gangster coming soon. But my question is, you've spoken in the past that sometimes you have a character who you really like and would like to survive, but where and how they ended up just won't allow you to, quote unquote, save them without compromising the integrity of the story. Perry comes to mind in this example. My question is, have you ever had the opposite happen, where you wanted to off someone but felt this guy is just too skilled to be killed by the people or situation that they're in right now? I love, and as a PS, he says, I love Big Baby and I want to go on a hunting trip with him or Harry. See if you can make that happen."
Big Baby is a character from the hippo stories. It's a talking gun in a way, in a sort of a way. But do I have characters that I want to get rid of, but kind of can't for plot purposes? No, I actually don't. Even secondary, possibly even tertiary characters, you put so much work into them to get them to feel like a living, breathing human, even the assholes, that when you kill them, like in Siglerism, when people die, they're dead. So this isn't one of those intellectual properties where people will talk about, oh my God, the author is so savage. He just kills all of his characters all the time, and it's gutting me, tears out my whole heart, and then they're back 2 pages later, right? When I kill them, they stay dead. So to actually kill a character that you put time in building, that is not something I ever want to do. So that is the answer to that question.
Terrific.
Let's do one more, then we'll go for a video question.
Yeah, I thought, well, you just said we were going to do 4.
What?
You said we were going to do 4 questions.
Let's do 4. Let's do 4. That's 3 to go. Let's do it.
Okay. So from Sean Dyer, who I think is with us tonight. How far back in history have the Nocturnals existed? Were they active in medieval Europe back during the time of the Hammurabi, about 1750 BCE?
I will tell you, that's, I'm surprised we haven't got that question before. If we have got that question before, I forgot.
I don't think we ever have. I was quite surprised. I'm like, I mean, I know some of the history, but that's not the question. So to Sean, that's not the question he's asking. He's saying I know it goes back a while.
It goes way, 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 way back.
How far back does it go? It
goes back, I'm going to conservatively probably 15,000 years, somewhere in that ballpark. They have sort of co-evolved with us. And the mythos of the nocturnal subset of the Siglerverse is that the nocturnal triple chromosome and the mutations that it provides and the randomness that it provides, that is the source of almost all of the monster myths in all of the various cultures all over the world. So these creatures have existed, have co-evolved with us, come up with us after they're split from humanity. And vampires, zombies, werewolves, dragons, orcs, elves, trolls, anything you can think of that started because of a Nocturnal. So as far back as you can go, where there is creation stories and monster stories and monster myths, the Nocturnals have been with us for that much time.
Interesting. That, I didn't know that. I thought that was a wonderful question. Okay, 2 more. Let's see. We're going to do from Chris Hughes. He says, so, sequels. When might we see Descendant and the Nocturnal prequel? And is Mount Fitzroy the last in the Earthcore series, or will there be a sequel or a prequel?
Okay, let's start with the last question first. Will Mount Fitzroy be the final book in what is now known as the Sun Symbol series? Originally, way back when I started this book many years ago, I envisioned a trilogy and hinted at that strongly in Earthcore. But when you get to the end of Mount Fitzroy, you will see that the possibility of making another book of this is going to be quite a stretch. So we'll have to see how it goes. And frankly, we're also, this is our business, right? So Earthcore has done incredibly well for us. It's our best-selling book of all time. Mm-hmm. If Audible gets behind Mount Fitzroy, as we hope they will, and puts the Audible muscle behind what's going on, and it makes us a crap ton of money, then I'll probably find a way to write a third book.
But also, Chris brought up a good point. Another thing that could happen is a prequel.
Oh yeah, you definitely could have a prequel. There's a lot of stuff going on. But in book 3 might be a prequel. I don't know. What was the rest of his question, babe?
When might we see Descendant or a Nocturnal prequel?
Well, I want to write Descendant. I know exactly how Descendant goes. I've had it in my head now for a long time. Don't know. It's not on the schedule right now. I am not looking past GFL book 7 and the Crypt book 1 and 2. That's what we're focused on right now, once the Stone Wolves is finally off to the presses. The full scope of Ancestor would be Ancestor, Descendant, and then a very lighthearted prequel to Ancestor starring Clayton Detweiler when he was in his mid-20s. Mm-hmm. And
I love that idea.
Rooster?
Yeah, I think
what's that phrase? The cock of the walk or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That we've talked about a couple of times. And Scott has a kind of a little database. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word database.
Yeah.
Scott has a database full of story ideas. And we finally figured out a way, years ago this was, where it's the name, the date he came up with it, the name, what he was thinking about at the time, whatever, and then a tiny little like elevator pitch, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But when we talked about Clayton Detweiler being the cock of the walk and being like a 20-something, and if you know this character, you know how awesome he is. I was like, maybe we should do that. And he was like, no, unfortunately we have 5 other books to put out. And this is the only one that I was like, maybe we should do that. Because I would love to see that.
That'd be awesome.
And I would love to see the Tweedy Family Christmas special.
Oh, the Tweedy Family Christmas special. The Nocturnal prequel, the Ancestor prequel, I think would be so fun because Clayton would be the main character. And you have secondary characters like, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, Marilyn Monroe, Dean, all of the classics from that era, all would vacation there. Surprise, things go horribly wrong. Now, and what was the other one? Was that talk about Nocturnal?
No, it was Descendant, and then it was the question you asked first.
Okay, cool.
Answered first, I mean.
All right, let's do another one.
From Brianna Blackwell, are you still planning a Sigler Fest in April 2021?
No.
Probably not. We don't know for sure. We are, at the moment, I've had this question come in 3 times this week, and I always answer honestly. You guys know this about me. I'm going to give you whatever info I have. If I had to decide today, there is 0 chance that I would risk you guys, risk having a Sigler Fest because I can't imagine one of you getting sick. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine us choosing to do that.
We would be verklempt. We'd be very verklempt.
Yeah. So it is unlikely that there is going to be a Sigler Fest in April 2021. That is what we're saying. That said, we have made a promise that we're going to let you guys know, definitively make a decision by the end of this year. So right now, if we had to choose today, no. Mm-hmm. If I had to make a guess, no April 2021. And here's the thing. I can't tell you if somebody said like Sigler Fest 2022, which I love the idea, but I'm not sure that's a possibility either until we have a little more knowledge and info and make sure that everybody can be safe. Because I just can't even imagine doing something so fun and having it be one person gets sick.
We have a hard enough time in this house when any of you get sick. You know, especially when junkies get seriously ill. I'm not gonna lie, we don't handle that. We don't handle that really well. I write about awful things all the time, but when it actually is happening, it's difficult. So if we were to throw an event, and at that event, you know, there's no way we're gonna be responsible for how the hotel staff practices things, etc. Even if we go through all the safety protocols, people still get ill, we're gonna feel really bad, and that's not something we're down for.
Yeah, and Jeff, since you keep saying, okay, what about 2023? I'll be honest, at this point, we may never have another SIGLERfest. We're not planning that, but we are absolutely not. The only kind of punishment we want to put junkies through is either the mental things that you go through when you read Scott's books, or hangovers at SIGLERfest, and that's it, really.
Yeah. Oh God, I've had many SIGLERfest hangovers. What's the next question, Sugar Plum?
Now it's supposed to be a
video question.
It is. We're gonna try this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We are going to attempt time travel. Let's see. We've got
I've got my drink just in case.
Yes. Here we go with Servo and Fort. Little nice picture of the brothers doing their thing. So now here's what we're going to try. There may be volume spikes. We're not entirely sure how this is going to go. Bear with us. First question is, This is Steve. Now you said A pointed out that 2 of these video questions are basically the same question. We're just going to play it anyways because 5 people took the time to send a video. We're going to show it off to them. So here we go. Give us a shot.
Hi, Scott. I am one of the original Junkies. My name was featured in your edition of Ancestor. I'm over in the UK, and my question for you is really simple. What happened to your comic book empire? There was only 1 issue released on Amazon. Thanks.
Excellent question. Let's cover him up now. No, let's keep his face right there.
And that lovely wallpaper.
We had, when we started the Infected comic book, we had, basically no money, right? I mean, going out and doing your own comic book, we were considering it strongly. And then a very established comic artist who went by the name of Spooky approached me at a stop in New York and said, "Hey man, I want to do an Infected comic." I'm like, okay, cool. And then he pulled out some sketches and or he emailed them after, I'm not sure which. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing and absolutely the perfect tone for everything. He nailed it. And then he went through and he came up with the book 1 and wrote the script. And then issue 1. And then we took that to, God, who's the comic company?
IDW.
Thank you. Took it to IDW and they bought it as a user-owned comic. So basically, they are just the conduit through which the finished art, finished stories goes to them, and they kind of handled the rest, which means they didn't have any ownership of the IP. And then we wound up being really late on the deadlines for episode 1, and IDW was extremely patient. And then we started to do episode number 2, and things came up in Spooky's life, and it wound up taking a really long time to get done. And after, I think it was the second time IDW had to call Diamond Distributors, the comic book distribution company, and say, yeah, we're late. We'd promised to do this. It's not here when it's supposed to be. They very politely tapped out. They were like, this is not how we do business. Sorry, we couldn't make this work. We're dropping the series. And we've never really had time to pick back up on it again. And we had started work on a Rookie comic book and an Ancestor comic book and largely ran into the same issue.
So the Infected comic book, it just to make sure that nobody feels like IDW did us wrong or anything like that. They were spectacular partners and we did everything we could, but we were working with, Scott was writing the scripts. Spooky was doing the art. Things started to happen for Spooky that really we couldn't get that work done, and we couldn't justifiably change out an artist because if you guys are comic fans, it's such a particular thing, and it was so beautiful. But there was no way to kind of mesh it. And IDW were very gracious and they were very good to us. And they were like, we can't do this now. If you can ever get this back together, you let us know. But
we just haven't, honestly, we haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah,
That's just
and
it.
we've just got so many. And, this year has been kind of crazy because, in case you guys don't know, if there's anybody watching or listening who doesn't know, we, in November of last year, decided that we weren't even going to travel this year at all. I'm so sorry that we did this, you guys. I don't think it was us, but if it was us, I'm so sorry. And that was to try and catch up on the actual book work.
Right. Which we're caught up on now.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's still a few contracts out there that are done deals that we have to deliver. The rest for you guys, we have a contract with the GFL, the rest of the GFL and stuff like that. I think we wouldn't get back to it until after that.
And I would like to point out, if you look at the screen, that A Real Girl's lower third super is A Real Girl, and the Scott Sigler lower third super, I've never looked so good. If you look on the far side of your screen. Been going to the gym. Also, my little brother with the tails wrapped around my tiny, tiny head. Okay.
Jeff Edwards, asks if the comic is available for download anywhere, and I don't think so. I think you might be able to get it on Comixology, but there's only the one episode of Infected. So I'm not sure if it's still there.
Someday we hope to get back. I would just like to finish that one. It would be great, but we haven't heard from Spooky in a long time. Just haven't stayed in communication. So if we ever do it again, I would want to start with IDW because they were great to work with, and see if they can just, they are the experts in making comic books. We are not. So we'll see what they can do. What is the next question?
Tyler Ginger Bissett asks, I have a question about Earthcore. Did the song Last Kiss by Pearl Jam have any influence on the death of Kirkland's wife, which I'm guessing influence on you writing the scene?
Right. No.
Okay.
Easiest answer to the whole thing. No. 9 yet.
It is decided.
It is decided. Okay, baby,
which,
go ahead.
you're sometimes a wordy mofo, so that's good.
For sure.
Okay, from Jonathan Walls. Nocturnal is my favorite Sigler story. I've read different versions over the years, and I swear there is a version where Pookie gets killed by a knife to the gut on a porch. What version was that? Did I get the wrong mushrooms on my pizza?
I think you got the wrong mushrooms on your pizza.
He does say thanks for many, many years of fabulous stories.
I plan to kill Pookie in episode number 3 or chapter 3 of the book. And even from the start, because I had done Earthcore, Ancestor, and Infection at that point. And I think possibly the Rookie, if I remember correctly. And I'm sure John's in the chat room. He'll correct all that. So people kind of the fans kind of got the vibe of how I worked. And a bunch of y'all just smelled it. As soon as Pookie started, I started getting emails after episode 1 like, I know you're going to kill him. Don't kill him. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. Don't you dare to. And like by the 10th email, I'm like, I'm on episode 2. And then you realize, oh, well, maybe this is a good idea. People like this guy. Maybe I'll keep him around.
So I have a secondary question about that. We had just met at that point. So we weren't working together. I didn't have a lot of control. I had no influence, whatever. But I wonder, was there a moment where you were like, you know what? You don't want me to kill him? Not your character. Gonna kill him. And then after like 400 more emails, you were like, apparently your character not going to kill him.
I'm super glad I didn't because he's largely become probably my favorite character. Next Mr. Business overall. I say Mr. Business, John Tweedy, and Pookie are my favorite characters that I've created.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from Robert Gelb, who's also in the chat room tonight.
All right, Robert,
says,
what's up?
Am I correct in understanding that the reasons that saviors even exist today is because Hillary keeps on smuggling the slightly defective Nocturnals out of the underground?
Okay. All right. There's only so much I can tell you about this. If I live long enough, we're going to get Nocturnal Book 2, 3, 4, and the prequel.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to give you the shocker of Nocturnal. So I kind of already forgot the question. I got distracted by the shocker. I startled myself.
This is a family show. Yeah. I'm not sure what that was. The question is, am I correct in understanding that the reasons the saviors even exist today is because Hillary keeps on smuggling the slightly defective Nocturnals out of the underground?
Well, the answer to that question is I can't tell you. Clearly, she smuggled Brian out. And Brian is the new savior for book 2, book 3. So, the answer to that is yes. Without Brian, the line would have ended and that would not have happened at all. As for the other saviors that you have seen and you have not seen, I can't tell you yet. Someday I will be able to tell you. So whatever you do, stay alive. Stay alive so you can read the story. Hey, this is Scott, and this is a quick break from Nocturnal Throwback Q&A Part 1 for a message from our sponsor, ConvertKit. You can get a free ConvertKit account at convertkit.com/Scott. ConvertKit's free plan helps creators of all kinds turn passions into full-time careers by growing your fan base, promoting your work, and building a meaningful relationship with your audience, just like I've been doing for years. You can share your work with your fans by building a custom landing page in minutes, which showcases your work and upcoming projects. ConvertKit's email designer helps you create beautiful, simple emails that turn casual viewers of your stuff into true fans. When you create professional, personalized emails about your work and your process, that helps connect you with your audience. ConvertKit helps creators earn a living by doing what they love, with tools to help promote your work, sell your stuff, and announce new projects to your fans. Go to convertkit.com/Scott to sign up for a free account and find your audience faster. That's convertkit.com/Scott. convertkit.com/Scott. Now, let's get back to the Nocturnal Throwback Q&A Part 1. Next question.
From Ian Cole. Thank you so much for replaying this podcast. It has been a blast. Why, FDO?
Why what?
Why did you change Brian's nickname from Ninja to Terminator?
Okay, that's actually a pretty good question. Now, remember a lot of this stuff, even for the book, the print book that finally came out, it was 2014, I think. So that's, is that right? No, 2012. Nocturnal?
2011.
Nocturnal, yeah, Nocturnal's it's very old. It's older than Tuesday's Lunch. So, there was, I can't remember. He was, the Ninja didn't quite work for me because it went over to Terminator, because what I was trying to communicate better in the later drafts was that he was emotionally distant, and he is a oh my God, that's when he came out with it? 2007? Holy crap. It's 13 years ago. But basically, just the word the Terminator is a way to convey his coldness and his lack of emotion. And what if you read enough cop stories and read enough true life cop stories, by and large, when a law enforcement officer has to draw his or her weapon in the line of duty, and it, God forbid, has to take a life, it can screw people up really, really bad. And there are many layers of psychological care after the fact, because of course these are very tough, mentally tough people who do a very difficult job. It's like, man, are you okay? You just killed someone. Like, I'm fine. And they're not. And the narrator, he wasn't fine. So there's a lot of steps you have to go through after that to make sure, if you're going to have that gun in your hand and go out on duty again, that you are stable. And Brian in Nocturnal is basically pretending to be concerned because he is, spoiler. Do we get the spoiler alert?
We did.
Spoiler.
Hey, Kent Lolly, nice to see you out there.
Brian is one of them, and the Nocturnals are a genetic offshoot of humanity, and they are straight up predators. They're predators. The lions do not feel bad for the gazelles that they kill, and Nocturnals do not feel bad when they prey upon humans. And Brian's kind of weirdly caught in the middle, and he always thinks he's very weird. He's like, I'm supposed to feel bad about this, and I just flat out don't. I'm not upset. Nothing. That was the hint to who he was.
Yeah. And the other thing that, so this came out as a podcast it started in October of 2007, and as a book in 2012. I just looked it up. So another thing that happened, and we were working together at this point, was the ninjas come with other ninjas. They come with a code. They come, just like the samurai, they come with stuff and support and knowledge and history and worldview and everything else. And Brian is exactly the opposite. He is not, he doesn't fit, like Scott just said, he's trying to pretend to be empathetic because he doesn't feel it. And once he finds out that he's different, he's completely alone, which is totally different than a ninja. And so a lot like the Terminator.
Yeah.
who is in a different place in a different time without the rest of his tribe, so to speak, that kind of thing. So that mattered too, I remember back then.
Are we ready to go to a video question?
I guess so.
Boom. Let's knock it out. Here we go. Let's get these gentlemen out of the way. See who's left. See who's next. Who do we have
Larry,
here, baby?
this is Larry. No. Actually, don't ask this question.
Don't ask this question.
No,
Okay.
we're going to ask that in the second hour if we can.
Sure, no problem. Well, okay, hold on.
If we have to, but we just
No,
need
we
this
don't. Just
answered.
give a brother a moment. Give a brother a minute. Let's. You know what?
If you guys can tell, I'm having all sorts of issues with the
Where is-
headphones and my hair. So I'm going to take this minute to get the headphones out of my hair.
We're gonna do this question, and then there's one I use to cue things up that's not in that mix.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go find that to make sure we have it. We'll do that one next. But let's do this one. Here we go.
This is Jesse Sharrow, who you guys know as the San Francisco police chief in Nocturnal.
That's right. Here we go.
Hey Scott, it's Jesse Sharrow, captain of the San Francisco Police Department. Just wondering if you are thinking about a Nocturnal sequel.
Oh, that was sorry, guys. Let's go back. So we'll answer that question. I accidentally played the two questions that are very similar back to back. Absolutely. Don't know when I'm going to get to it, as I said before, but I have plans for, this, I'll go a little bit more detail. So Nocturnal got optioned to be a movie by Lloyd Levin, who is the producer of Hellboy, Hellboy 2, The Green Zone, Boogie Nights, a bunch of other stuff. And we had Paul DeMeo and Danny Bilson, who wrote The Rocketeer, write the pilot script for Nocturnal. But that was now, 10 years ago?
Oh, at least,
it's been over 10 years that we've been trying to get this thing to go. And part of what I did to create for them was Lloyd and I came up with this whole interwoven process. So I planned for 5 seasons of TV, and then I planned for other novels where characters from the novels that maybe didn't involve Brian and Pookie would then percolate up into the TV show, and graphic novels and video games and all this stuff. So there was this, it was a concept for an integrated Nocturnal universe where if you're watching the show every Thursday, for example, you're binging on Netflix, season 2, you're like, I wonder who's going to show up in the video game. I wonder who's going to show up in the comic books. I wonder who's going to show up from the graphic novels, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a very detailed plan for what happens in book 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if you count the prequel, there would wind up being 6 books in the Nocturnal universe. I tell you that and you're going to be mad at me. I don't know when the hell I'm going to get to that stuff. I have no idea.
He told you that and you're like, cool, I'm going to check in with A and see when those are going to be on the schedule. Those are not
on the schedule.
Maybe the sequel, but the rest of them, I'm not sure that they would, unless there is a support, an AV sort of support. If there's a movie or a TV show or streaming show or something like that, the 3, 4, and 5 are almost assuredly not coming to a bookstore near you, unless something like that happens. So
keep talking, babe.
Anyhow,
get the next question up, babe. Why? Cue this up.
Yeah, of course. So one of the other things that's happening in our live stream is people are asking if Kent Lawley, when he joined the chat, said, "Can you talk about the actual origins of the Nocturnals with the RPG?" And I think that's a great question.
I'm sorry, the RPG.
The technocracy,
ASP technocracy?
Yeah, isn't that Nocturnal?
No, I'm a little bit lost on this question.
So the Nocturnal started when you were writing for an RPG, right? Some of those characters came from.
Yes. Oh, that's the hero system. That's Iron Crown Enterprises hero system, and I wrote a book called Shadows of the City.
That's it. Not the technocracy.
Yeah, Shadows of the City. And ASP technocracy was for Silent Death when I used to write for Silent Death. Right. Shadows of the City. So some of the Nocturnals came from there. I believe we have 2 of the original playtesters for that adventure in the room. Daniel Morningstar Baker and Rob Doc Rock Otto. And we used to, when we were on a Satan worshiper list in Sheboygan, Michigan, because we were at somebody's house every Saturday and Sunday role playing all day long instead of being out driving around doing damage, drinking, getting fights.
And were there people who were like, I don't know, this gaming thing is evil.
Yeah. It was. We were literally on a Satan worshiper watch list because we role played. That's the town where we grew up. But yeah, the guys helped play it, and it was, of course, game mastering is what fueled my love for storytelling and what really helped me hone my chops for storytelling. Because when you are when you are sitting at a table and you can deliver information and watch a human react in real time, it really helps sharpen the saw and hone your instincts for like, if I write this, that's going to mess people up. And that's a good thing. So a lot of the role-playing stuff, you know, when I could watch guys who knew they were playing a game and having fun still get like angry or upset or emotional over something, I'm like, that's a good technique. That's a good technique. So, you know, the Shadows of the City was a huge, huge accomplishment in my life at that time. I got that done at a pretty early age. I can't quite remember when, but it was like,
well, Rob says 1993. How old were you?
1993. I guess I would have been 20, 22, 23, somewhere about. I don't know. I'm not good with math, but so it was great. And working with the guys at Don Dennis and the rest of the crew at Iron Crown Enterprises was just awesome. And it absolutely helped make me the two things that made me the writer I am today, other than just a lot of repetition, are three things, I guess. There's three things. Number one, role playing, getting to watch people react in real time. Number two, working in newspapers and having to crank out massive amounts of copy every week for a small town newspaper and learning to write well under deadline and write a lot under deadline. And then the other one, of course, is podcasting. Because when you read it out loud, you hear stuff that you don't see on the paper. And you guys would be surprised by the thousands and thousands of words that I just cut while I was podcasting back in the day. Even saying that, I still write gigantic books too.
Oh my God.
But I'm much better now. All these skills have come together and I write a little bit more. There's not as much wasted copy now.
Definitely. And a lot of times it's repurposed eventually. Like he writes it, he loves that. And it ends up like we have a handful of things that happened in the original draft of GFL Book 6 that will show up in Book 7 because, you know, A, B, C, D, E storylines, and then it gets girthy and you got to take a little bit out to put it somewhere else so that the narrative makes more sense.
Right.
So, yeah, you are much better at not just writing into what we used to call the rabbit hole, like writing for 4,000 words and then just trashing it all the next day. Kind of thing.
I'm going to bring you up a little bit on the mic if we keep that position so we can avoid the plosives. But I know I realized I made a huge headache for Steve Rickyberg because I forgot to record this in Logic. So he's going to have the audio ripped down from the video. But good luck, Steve. Sorry about that, dude.
We love you.
Didn't even cross my mind until just this moment. Hey, this is Scott again with a break to talk about our other sponsor for this episode, BetterHelp. This year has been a challenge, but life always has its challenges, doesn't it? If you find yourself in need of assistance, the professional counselors at BetterHelp are committed to helping you succeed. You can get started today and be talking to a licensed counselor in less than 24 hours. Send a message to your counselor anytime and communicate in a private online environment from the safety and comfort of your own home. I signed up for help managing my ADD symptoms and the increased lack of focus they can cause. In the weeks to come, I'll let you know how that goes. But so far, the system is easy to use to find a counselor, schedule appointments, and share feedback, progress, or problems. BetterHelp is more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. For me, it makes me happy to be doing something for myself in an affordable, convenient, professional, and confidential environment. BetterHelp is there for you, too. Consider living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/Sigler. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Sigler. Now, let's get back to the Nocturnal Throwback Q&A goodness. All right, let's do one more and then video.
I think it's two more.
Two more, hit me.
From Baza, he says, I noticed Scott talking about how he was writing, he means in the Talkie Talk, how you were writing and then podcasting it on Saturday. And his question is, did you find many errors when reading it out loud, or does he just do what I do and see what I think there should be rather than what there is?
Okay, this is to go back to what I was saying just a moment ago. Sorry. Here I am. Hi. I thought I hit the button. When you write, you have a vision in your head of what you have put down on the page, what you have painted on the canvas. And usually that's pretty accurate. But when you're writing really big books, a lot of times, especially when you're on second, third draft, you can get these ghost images of things you thought you wrote that you didn't, things you wrote and cut and forgot you cut, and things you are sure are in there but you never got to. So that is why back in the day, as I was coming up in publishing, being able to read it out loud and record it and then have to listen to it and edit it. Yes, there was tons of stuff. I found tons and tons and tons of stuff. I'm like, wait, didn't I say X? I didn't say X. Would have to go back in and fix that. So it was absolutely critical to honing my craft in general and developing the style that I have right now. Really, really, really helpful. And it's always weird, especially when you create it, which is why my advice is to beginning writers. Just write a book. Doesn't matter. Write the worst book you can think of. It doesn't matter. Just keep the story going. Learn how to finish it. Put it away for 6 months. You'll think you're the next Stephen King. You're not. Pull the book out after 6 months without looking at it. And then when you read it, you'll be like, oh, this is just hot garbage. And you figure out which parts are the worst and you learn how to get better at those parts. And then you start to come up and become a better writer.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. So from Nick Burke, I was wondering if either of you can comment on Nocturnal's tie-ins to the wider Siglerverse, other than a Texas Earthling running back named Pookie Chang. Based on the Nocturnal recording from 2007, I can see where the broader Siglerverse tie-ins may not have been mapped out at that time yet. I didn't catch any modern era cross-pollinization like the Earthcore references to the attack in Detroit. Are there any genetic mutations that lead Mommy and later Marie's children that are natural? My hope has always been that they tie into a broader GFL universe. In my head, the canon is that her mutations stem from an early experiment by the Collector's satellite that eventually led to the infected triangles. Thanks and keep up the good work.
You know what? That's distinctly possible. It's distinctly possible. We don't really know for sure where they came from. It's because I play fast and loose with genetics, kind of in the tradition of X-Men and comic books with Nocturnal, where a mutation can give you all of these amazing powers. And although in Nocturnal, it's not like Nightcrawler who can teleport because he was born with a weird gene. X-Men takes it to a crazy level. Do you know what that noise is?
I don't.
Oh, my stuff is, I think it's a sneezing, snoring dog. Our dog is snoring, and I got alarmed.
She's absolutely snoring right there. Should I move her?
No, she's fine.
Okay.
So, in Nocturnal, all of the powers and skills, etc., that you see, almost all of them are explainable with real-world physics. We're taking, of course, biology, huge leaps with biology, but there is no, somebody doesn't have the power to teleport, or the power to walk through walls or anything like that, which is kind of what brings it down and makes it a little more, it feels more realistic. It's a superhero story, but it feels like a very realistic superhero story because of that. But where they got this ability, where the extra chromosome came from, who knows? Could be. He could be right.
You want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more. Then we'll go to the video.
All right, let me see. From Seth Adams. Thanks so much for the throwback. Listening through the older talkie talk made me realize you seem different 13 years later.
I do.
You're still great.
Thanks.
You're still cool.
Wow.
But maybe cooler, maybe calmer. Do you notice differences in yourself, accepting the differences one would expect with 13 years having gone by? Thanks for all the awesome content for nearly two decades.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've changed a lot. I think the core essence of who I am remains the same, and that's both good and bad. But I've really worked a lot on different areas of my personality. I am a very easily angerable human being, and the thing that really helped make me the person that I am today was high school wrestling, because I was a very tiny, tiny human being. Still am a tiny human being, and I played football. My dad was a football coach. My brother was a star player at our high school, and football goes back 4 generations now. Siglers have been playing or coaching football for 4 generations. And I had no capacity to be successful in that space, because you can work, gosh darn it, as hard as you want, put your nose to the grindstone. If you are tiny and slow and don't have a lot of mass, there's not that much you can do in that game. So I was always very frustrated by that, because I had the killer instinct. I wanted to play. I wanted to be good. I worked harder than everybody else, but the genetics were not in my favor at all. And then wrestling came around my junior year in high school, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever competed against people my own size. And it was a revelation. And I found out that if I worked harder than everybody else, which I did, I practiced before school, skipped lunch, went to practice, then practice after practice. It was an obsession. And if I was intentionally going on that mat with the attitude like, you should not have stepped on this mat with me, it's going to cost you real bad. And so I was just a very, very angry, aggressive young person. And it was so much fun. It was fun to start. Once you start to learn, you start to win. And then my success it had a ceiling because I'm horribly uncoordinated. I'm not the most athletic person in the world. But, on the wrestling mat at that age, having a giant chip on your shoulder and a lot of anger and really ready to take any blow and bleed all over the place and keep coming, you win a lot of matches by just sheer willpower. Then I went wrestle in college and found out that everybody has that willpower and that level of savagery, and they're also excellent athletes. And I kind of got my ass kicked a whole bunch.
And you also, I don't know a ton of stuff about basketball, and especially not basketball when I was growing up, but I do know who Spud Webb is for a reason.
Yeah.
Because he was the exception and not the rule by being that short and that successful in the NBA. And the reason he was the exception is it's real hard to be 5'4" and star in the NBA.
And plus he was a physical mutant. He was an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
Incredible vertical leap. Just Spud Webb was awesome.
So,
wait,
but
I'm getting to that.
Okay, I was going to say he's specifically asking if you've seen a difference between the two.
This is the difference. This is the difference. So that same work ethos of, pardon the French, fuck you, I'll work harder than you. You may have gone to Brown University or gone to Harvard, and you may have a roommate who's now a publisher, or your mommy and daddy may be connected, etc. I had none of those things. All I had was, there was only one thing I could control, which was how hard I worked to get to where I got to and now where I am. Except I have learned in the past couple of years that I sort of conflated the constant anger with the tenacity and the hard work. And a lot of that is due to working with me and pointing these things out. And it's taken me 2 decades or more to separate the work ethic and the obsession on quality and delivery. Like, if you're going to buy my book, you're going to get your money's worth. End of story. Separating that from just being super angry because I couldn't get a break. I couldn't get a publishing contract, et cetera, et cetera. So the big growth for me has been calming down, which I think a lot of people do as they get older, just in general.
For sure.
But I was just so mad all the time. And I thought the anger was the fuel that drove the work ethic. And it turns out that's not actually the case. I had incorrectly conflated those two things. So today's a perfect example. I spent all day solving a computer problem so that we could be ready for this show. The computer took a total crap. I had to reinstall a bunch of stuff. And normally that would have come with me banging at the desk
and eating a whole lot of chocolate,
telling the computer I'm gonna put a bullet in its things like that, right? I mean, I just had all of this stuff that now, as I've got older, to answer your question, I realize not only does it not help solve the problem, it makes the problem much harder to solve. It chews up energy, it chews up mental cycles. You lose more focus even than I do usually. Mm-hmm. So if you've heard that over the past 13 years, that's great. Question, yeah. But that's the biggest thing, is just calming the F down a little bit and trying to relax.
Okay, so do you want to do a video?
Yes, do video.
And then how many videos do we have left after that? Just what, 2?
We went 3 after this, I think.
Okay. Oh, dude.
Here we go.
Hi, this is Big John, and I just have the one question. You mentioned that you were going to be working on the Crypt coming up very soon. Does this mean that you're working on putting book 1 out in print or ebook, or working on book 2 or something else? Thanks.
So you guys, I have to tell you, he does all the technical stuff for this podcast, and I made him swear to me, promise up and down, that he would not watch that video before right now, because I watched it. And if you guys are familiar with this cast, you know that our good friend Bruce Press made a GIF of our terribly good friend Big John doing exactly that because Scott's such a big fan of Big John that he wanted to have a GIF, and that is what but this is the live version. Wasn't it worth the wait?
Yeah, okay. Here's what we're going to switch back. We're going to switch back to the main camera. And I'll turn off the volume so you guys can just watch. Just pretend it's the GIF we play all the time about John. There he is.
Yeah.
What was John's question? The Crypt.
Yeah.
The plan with the Crypt is I've been promising the Crypt a whole bunch. But, and it's coming. It's not even breathing hard yet. It's coming. And it probably will have a shocker to boot. There's a lot going on with the Crypt. But here's the thing. I originally wrote GFL Book 6. It was a great big book. And John and I were going over the continuity for it and realized and then talking to A, it's so swollenly, turgidly thick and girthy that it would be almost literally impossible for us to print it and ship it. So we took a hard look at it. We're like, you know what? There are 2 complete stories in this book. So we split book 6, became book 6 and book 7. So now I have still got book 7 kind of in my head, and it's already been proofed by John once to go for continuity proofing. And I just finished book 6. So we're probably going to move on to, I'm going to get through a pass on book 7 while all that continuity stuff is fresh in my head. And then we move on to the Crypt. And we have no idea if we'll print it or not at this point.
Yeah, we know we'll publish it. It will for sure be a digital book at this point until we get the books that we've already sold you printed, which is difficult in COVID. I don't know if it'll be an actual book, but I assume that someday we will be not in COVID and we will readdress it then. But we won't wait. We'll publish the digital versions first if we get there. No question, and worry about print when that's easier to do.
Yeah. So, short answer, she answered it. We don't know. We have no idea what's happening. Let's go back to main camera. All right, baby, hit me. What's the next question?
From Nick Thornton. Great story. Nice to have a flashback, including the other adverts and for podcasts that I listened to back in the day. I've got my Audible pre-order done, so really looking forward to December for Fitzroy. Anyway, the question. Oh. For my own childish amusement, can you say the word roof a few times?
Roof. What, do I say roof weird?
I don't know.
Gonna get up on that roof and have some fun.
Oh, but do some Midwestern states say roof? Roof?
I don't know.
I know that my my first husband was from Missouri, and my first mother-in-law used to say roof.
Okay.
I think. So maybe that's why?
You know what? For your childhood amusement, roof. I was up on the roof doing things that one does on a roof, which sometimes are very rough.
Rough roofs.
Rough roofs are a way to go. All right, next question, baby.
Our friend Matt Bowler asks, what is your biggest or funniest continuity error?
Oh, there's several. Number one, I forgot I'd written Pookie Chang into the GFL in the rookie, like a one-line mention. So therefore, that Pookie Chang is the multi-generational descendant of the Pookie Chang you've seen in Nocturnal. I killed Andre Death Ray Ridley, which was the nickname.
That was the one I thought of.
Name and nickname of my college roommate. Awesome dude. Andre the Death Ray Ridley. And so I put him in the book, and he dies, and then he just shows up again in the starter because I'd forgotten I had killed him. And then the best one is Kissy Man, which is the one with Lefty.
Yeah, it's not the gentleman. I can't remember, but it's a Kissy Man story.
Kissy Man, yeah, I think it's Kissy Man the gentleman. Kissy Man, the rough and tumble former Nazi special forces officer who visited a death camp and saw what his country was doing and went a little bit cuckoo, and then busted out a Jewish mafia kingpin and escaped with him to America and became kind of a freelance hitman for the mob. Kissy Man hangs out with Lefty, and Lefty is called Lefty because Lefty has no right arm. And then at the end of the story, he was begging at Twinkies, so they give him some Twinkies, and I can't remember the line exactly, but he reached out with both hands and took the Twinkies. And I got so much shit. For it.
It's true.
It's like okay, Scott. It's one thing that you forgot your character is missing an arm, but his name is Lefty.
It's true.
Yeah. So those are the most embarrassing. Lefty and the Twinkie. Beth. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
This is probably a quick question. Mm-hmm. Smorg's in the chat room tonight. She asks, why did Mr. Biznaz's name change from Claudio to Thomas?
I don't know.
That's what I figured. It was going to be like, I don't know. I don't have any idea.
Okay. No, wait. I think I do know this. Do I know this? I think I know this. When you write the book and you start putting down names, sometimes you can have a name that's very similar to another name. And even when I go through a book with A, go through a book with John, etc., we even now we're to the point where we try and not have character names starting with the same letter. So I don't want a Carl and a Carol, and a Karen in the same scene. I try and get some separation phonetically from all of those different names. So that can be one of the reasons. It just also at some point can just not feel right. There's also been a lot of times where I'm like, I have character A and B that are very similar, so I'll change character B to this, and then later in a draft I'll realize now character B is so close in name to character C that it causes confusion. So most of the time, the reason you see it change like that is some internecine clarity that you're trying to stop things from being confusing to people.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me.
All right. So, do we do a video question now or what?
No, I think we're going to save the next video questions for the second half.
Okay,
here,
so we're going to tie one more and we tie up this episode?
I think so.
Gotcha, okay.
From Rick Russell. I was first exposed to audiobooks by listening to The Crypt. I have been frequently disappointed to see that it stopped after book 2.
Me too, Rick.
I keep returning to the page and refreshing it, hoping for an update. Are there any plans
why you got to be like that to me, man? Come on.
I figured I'd bring it up just to say that we are actually going to do this in 2021. And I am the person that finally got you Earthcore. And we are the people who are about to get you Fitzroy. So maybe
it's coming.
If we both believe it's coming, maybe it's coming.
Whatever you do, stay alive. A real quick question, and we'll finish this up. Michael Gray says, are you not using junkie names anymore? And no, remember, I've been in this game long enough that we had thousands of people signed up at scottsigler.com before there was even a thing called Facebook, before Facebook really took off. And we had a system set up that encouraged participation on the site. And like we had a scoreboard and crack hits and all kinds. It was a really, really fun, special time to have a poo-free area of the internet where you could come and hang out and do your thing. And that's how we started to use character names. So old school fans would try and incorporate a few of them here and there. Then we'd go with the crack hits. We'd have contests that would get fan names to become character names. But now it's just too much work. It's too much work for me to track that down. So we've kind of just gotten away from it. We have really, over the past 1.5 to 2 years, we've tried to parse out a lot of the stuff that makes my job harder and keeps me from actually writing the stories. And so we're not really doing that anymor.
Okay. So we are done with this first episode, part 1. We're going to be back next Sunday with a second round of Nocturnal Q&A.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please send them to info@emptyset, and we'll be back next Sunday.
We'll talk to you all real soon. You have been listening to Nocturnal, written and performed by Scott Sigler. For more information, go to scottsigler.com. All music in this podcast provided by Uncrowned off their album Devils and Angels, available now at the iTunes Music Store.
Is it?